So the question is, should you do high reps or low reps if you're trying to lose weight? And there's actually a couple of misconceptions that I have to go over in this video just so we can make sure everyone's on the same page. The first thing is that it doesn't really matter how many reps you're doing if you're not controlling your diet. The diet is the number one thing for weight loss, fat loss, and overall everything like that. However, in terms of the actual reps, for the longest time, people thought that you have to do high reps to tone and low reps to build mass, but that doesn't actually end up being a whole that true either. And in some cases, it ends up being the opposite. But we're going to go over a couple different things on that and see maybe what is best for you. Because in terms of reps, it can actually dictate one main thing, which is strength. Now, strength and muscle building are kind of in the same thing, but also kind of separate. Because you can build muscle with lower weight and higher reps, and you can absolutely build muscle with lower reps and higher weight. So in terms of that, like, well, if you can do kind of the same thing with both, which one is best to do? Now, when you're dieting, you tend to have less energy. So you kind of have to figure out, where do you want to put that energy? Do you want to put it into maybe focusing on the more reps because you're not having to use as much weight, so you can really focus on those reps and do really good with those? Or do you want to focus on the heavy weight, get quick sets in, heavy sets, do a few reps and get out? It really depends on how you like to train and what is your goal. Like, if you want to prioritize strength during your diet, lower reps are the way to go. If you want to prioritize not strength, then I guess you do a little bit higher reps, because at the end of the day, a lot of this comes down to how you like to train. So I think for most people, especially if you're new to the gym, you should experiment with lower rep sets and then higher rep sets. But again, there's another factor that comes into play, which is it doesn't really matter all that much how many reps you do. Somewhere between 1 rep set and 30 rep sets is going to be the range where you want to stay in. That's plenty of science to back that up. But if you're also not doing close to failure sets, maybe like a few reps short of failure, 1 rep short of failure, 2 actual failure, sometimes in very rare cases I actually recommend this, but beyond failure, maybe doing shorter reps or assisted reps or drop sets or something like that, all those things can come into play. But there's another thing to factor in. So there's this whole thing where after a certain point, you end up just burning energy and building fatigue. So super high rep sets aren't super good to do all that often because you just get tired from them. I've done this before where I was doing 30 rep sets pretty much all of last year, that was this past year. Well, like half of last year and some of this year, where I didn't have any heavy weight. I just had 30-pound dumbbells, my body weight, a door frame pull-up bar, and even after a while, I didn't even have the pull-up bar. So we moved a few times last year. But anyway, the point is I had to do high rep sets. And what I found is, even though I've been able to lift a lot more weight and not get sore, some of these high rep sets with just body weight and some 30-pound dumbbells or 25-pound dumbbells were getting me sore, but I definitely lost strength and lost muscle mass training that way. Now, does that mean you should never do that? Absolutely not. If you use the appropriate amount of weight for what you are training for and making progress with that and eventually bumping up the weight a little bit over time, you probably won't end up in the same situation I did. But I was incredibly limited and I was kind of stuck in terms of progress, and then my motivation to do a 40 rep set was just not there. And then if I wanted to add more sets, I had to add more time to my workout. And if you watch any of my videos, you know I'm running on incredibly limited time. So that wasn't really a great option either. And my motivation to do that was low. So you have to figure out how you like to train, because there are plenty of people who like doing tons and tons of reps on their workouts, like doing 50 plus push-ups and doing a bunch of squats, doing the Saitama workout from One Punch Man where you're doing 100 of. Anyway, the point is you have to figure out how you like to train. And on that note, I actually want to go through my training for the week so you can kind of see. I'm not, honestly, admittedly, I'm not currently dieting per se, but I am not in a calorie surplus. I'm kind of just a little bit under, so then that way when I train, I'm not gaining a bunch of body weight just to try to get as strong and as muscular as possible. So a lot of this does factor into my decision making, but also my personal goal is the number one thing driving the way that I'm training right now. So let's go ahead and see how it's working for me, what I'm doing, and maybe this can help you see that you don't necessarily have to train by the book of doing 8 to 12 reps to build muscle, because that doesn't necessarily end up being the optimal thing for all people, although it's a pretty safe range to be in. So anyway, moving on to my first day of the week. Starting the week off with bench press. You can't have enough bench press. Well, I guess you can have enough. Stay tuned for the next workout video because I had plenty of bench press there. Anyway, what we're doing here is trying to build our way up to getting 185 pounds on the bench press again for like the 5th time in my training career. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about this, where I had 170 pounds on the bar. We're able to do 2 reps this morning. Wasn't super ideal. Like, wasn't super thrilled about that, but we're just going to continue to build this up so I can get to that, because I do have a goal of doing 185 pounds for 8 reps on the bench by March 1st. We'll see how that goes. We're kind of getting to those last 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks. I can't even do math. But anyway, we're kind of getting down to crunch time, so we need to really ramp up the effort and get really strong, and then add the reps and get to that goal. Very arbitrary goal. There is absolutely no benefit to rushing strength progress, but it's something I wanted to push for, and it's really good to have things that you want to push for, because it will make you better than when you started the challenge. So that's why I'm doing that. Skipped right over barbell rows because it's totally not exciting and definitely the worst back exercise out of the good ones, which I've talked about a million times before, but got some good back stimulation out of those. Then we moved on to these chest flies, which, again, I talked about this in pretty much every workout video now. Want to get better at these. Get more tension on the chest. Just slow it down. Really feel it. Try to keep my arms as out as possible to make it as difficult as possible. And just, improve from there. And by the way, there was a rest time between that and this. It kind of just skipped because I kept the camera angle the same. But we're moving on to the giant set here, where we do the curls, tricep extensions, lateral raises. Just do them back to back to back. And so if you notice, a lot of these exercises you've seen so far are just really low rep sets. They're just a couple reps, a few reps, and then moving on. And the reason for that is because I'm, again, trying to get as strong as possible. And if you're trying to get as strong as possible, within reason, the lower reps are going to get you there faster, to get the central nervous system used to holding the heavier weight. And something that I did for, a month or two was actually put more weight that I can lift on something like the overhead press and kind of just hang out with it in the position that I would normally press from. And then I got enough confidence to start pressing that weight, even though I knew I wasn't going to be able to get it yet. And that actually helped, because when I dropped down the weight to the working set, I was able to actually get more reps because my body was ready for it. So if you want to increase the strength, doing it as safely as possible is getting that weight up on the bar, even if it's going down to 3 rep sets, 2 rep sets, safe 1 rep sets, then it can contribute to your strength, and strength is the precursor to muscle building. Like, if you have more tension on the muscle, you will build more muscle as long as you train close to failure. So that's how I view that. And with something like the squat, and I don't even know if I mentioned this already, but we're doing our heavy set, and then what we're doing after that is we're actually lowering the weight. And I probably should have recorded those sets as well, just to get a little bit more reps in without as much stress on the body itself, because there's that whole fatigue aspect in terms of the raw weight on the bar as you're building strength and getting more resilient in your body as well. There's a lot of things to think about with training, and that's probably why so many people get confused and not sure what to do, and is this best, is that best? I get it, because I've been doing this for a long time. I've helped a lot of people in the gym when I ran a gym. I've helped a lot of people online, and there are so many factors, but the biggest thing that just narrows everything down is personal goals. And I'm going to say that till the end of time, I guess, but it just really does make a difference. And for example, those deadlifts I just did, I don't like doing that high reps, but I don't have any more weight, so we're just going to build the reps up. And then moving on to the third day, I kind of just casually brushed off leg day because 2 exercises, but we're still building strength on that too. But last day is the overhead press day. I got 3 reps and a half. The half kind of does matter, because it does mean that if I was only able to barely get 3 the week before, which I only got 2 the week before, if I'm getting that extra half rep, that is still progress. Doesn't count as a rep though, but it is still progress. But then again, we're actually demonstrating this here now. I dropped the weight down to 95 pounds and was still able to get 8 reps. It took me a while to get 95 pounds for 8 reps, and now I can do it after a heavier set. That absolutely means progress. So there's a lot of different ways to kind of measure progress, and that's one of them. If you're able to do a previous difficult thing after doing a more difficult thing. But anyway, speaking of difficult things, we got a 45-pound plate, a strap to my body, doing 1.25 reps. Also only got 2 reps with 25 pounds. So I was actually spent by that point, and then did 2 reps at body weight, which I did not film, and I could have just simply not talked about, but here I am talking about it. Moving on to the last part of the workout, which is the same giant set as before. Only difference is I do hammer curls on this day instead of the standard like alternating, supinating, not alternating, just the supinating dumbbell curls. So that's how I do my workouts there. As far as the rep range thing, like going back to that, I've had plenty of times where I've been in the high rep sets like I talked about before. I've had plenty of times where I've done 1 rep sets, like legitimately 1 rep sets where I started at 50%, then did 60% of my 1 rep max, then 70, 80, 85, 90, 95% of 1 rep max. So I was doing 7 1 rep sets working up, and that actually got me to my strongest ever. And I was also quite a bit heavier, and it did impact my muscle mass positively. Would I recommend that? Absolutely not. Would I recommend training at home, doing the same weight for months, like 9 months, and only making a little bit of progress because there's kind of like not really that much way to go up? No. I would definitely recommend somewhere in the middle ground at the very least, where you have enough reps to really feel the weight, but also enough weight to progress through so you can get stronger over time. And I've said a lot of things to not give a definitive answer. And again, there is no definitive answer for everyone. But 6 to 12 is a pretty safe range to stay in, where you're not doing too few, but also not doing so much. But again, personal preference is everything. And that's what I'm going to leave it at. Hopefully you found this video helpful, informational, insightful, slightly entertaining. And if you did, go ahead and check out more videos on my channel. We'll have a couple of these pop up here. You can go check them out. And that's all I got for now. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.